You know, I spent 43 years of my life thinking I was doing everything right. And then one day it hit me like a thunderbolt. I'd been working on all the wrong things. 43 years. That's half a lifetime for most people. And here's what haunts me about those lost years. The answers were always there, sitting right in front of me. But I was too busy, too distracted, too convinced I already knew what I needed to know. Let me tell you something that'll save you decades if you really hear it. The problem isn't that we don't know what to do. The problem is we know what to do and we don't do it. You already know you should read more books. You already know you should take better care of your health. You already know you should save money instead of spending everything you make. But knowing and doing are two completely different things, aren't they? I remember when I was 25 years old, broke, with nothing in my pocket but big dreams and empty promises I'd made to myself. A friend gave me a book and said, "This will change your life." You know what I did with that book? I put it on a shelf. For 6 months, that book sat there collecting dust while I kept struggling, kept complaining, kept wondering why nothing was changing. The answer was literally sitting on my shelf, but I was too stubborn or too lazy or too convinced that my situation was somehow special and different from everyone else's. Here's the truth that took me 4 decades to understand. Life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by change. And change doesn't happen because of what you know. Change happens because of what you do with what you know. You can have all the information in the world, but if you don't apply it, if you don't actually do something different than what you did yesterday, you're going to keep getting the same results you've always gotten. When was the last time you invested in yourself? And I don't mean bought yourself something nice or took a vacation. I mean really invested, put time, money, and effort into becoming a better version of yourself. Most people spend more time planning their vacation than they spend planning their life. They'll research for hours to save $50 on a hotel room, but they won't spend 15 minutes a day reading something that could transform their thinking, their skills, their entire trajectory. The wealthy understand something the poor don't. They understand that you have to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, you can make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. And I'm not just talking about money here. I'm talking about a fortune in relationships, in health, in personal satisfaction, in the ability to help others, in peace of mind. That's the real fortune. And it all starts with personal development. You know what I did when I finally woke up at 43? I looked at my life like a business looks at its books. I did an honest audit. No excuses, no blame, no sugarcoating. Just raw honesty about where I was versus where I wanted to be. And let me tell you, that was painful. It's painful to admit you've wasted years. It's painful to see all the opportunities you let slip by. It's painful to realize that if you'd just done what you knew you should do, you'd be so far ahead of where you are right now. But here's the beautiful thing about that pain. It wakes you up. It creates urgency. It makes you realize that you can't afford to waste another day, another week, another year, doing the same things and expecting different results. So what did I change? Everything, but not all at once. That's where most people fail when they finally decide to turn their life around. They try to change everything overnight and they burn out in 3 weeks. No, I started with something simple that would compound over time. I committed to reading 30 minutes every single day. Not when I felt like it, not when I had time, every single day without exception. You want to know what happens when you read for 30 minutes every day? In a week, that's 3.5 hours of learning. In a month, that's 15 hours. In a year, that's over 180 hours of pure learning and growth. That means if you read for just 30 minutes a day, You're spending the equivalent of 4 full weeks every single year becoming smarter, wiser, more capable. 4 weeks that your competition isn't spending because they're too busy watching television or scrolling through their phones. But reading isn't enough by itself. Knowledge without application is just entertainment. You've got to take what you learn and immediately ask yourself, how can I use this? Where can I apply this today? What one thing can I change in my life based on what I just learned? Here's something else I learned too late. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Look around at your closest friends and associates. Look at their habits, their attitudes, their results in life, because that's your future if you don't make some changes. If you hang around 5 broke people, you'll be the 6th. If you hang around 5 people with no ambition, you'll lose yours too. If you hang around 5 people who make excuses for everything, you'll start making excuses too. This doesn't mean you abandon people who are struggling. It means you need to make a conscious decision about who's influencing you. You need mentors. You need people who are further along than you are, who have done what you want to do, who can show you the way. And you need to protect your mind like it's the most valuable asset you own, because it is. The biggest mistake I made for 43 years was this. I mistook activity for accomplishment. I was always busy, always moving, always doing something. But busy doesn't mean productive. You can be busy going in circles. You can be busy running on a treadmill, going nowhere. What matters isn't how much you do, it's what you do that moves you closer to your goals. So I learned to ask myself every single day, what are the most important things I need to do today that will actually move me forward? Not what's urgent, not what other people want me to do, but what's truly important for my goals, my growth, my future. And then I learned to do those things first before anything else got in the way. You want to know the secret to getting ahead in life? Do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. That's it. That's the whole secret. Don't wait until you feel like it. Don't wait until conditions are perfect. If you wait for the perfect time, you'll wait forever. Here's what I know about discipline. It's doing what needs to be done even when you don't want to do it. Everybody can do what they want to do. That's easy. That takes no character, no strength, no discipline. But doing what needs to be done when you'd rather be doing something else, that's where champions are made. That's where success is built. That's where life changes happen. And discipline isn't this terrible restricting thing people make it out to be. Discipline is actually freedom. You know what's restricting? Being broke, being unhealthy, being stuck in a life you don't want. That's restriction. Discipline is what frees you from all that. Discipline in your finances frees you from debt and worry. Discipline in your health frees you from disease and limitation. Discipline in your personal development frees you from ignorance and mediocrity. Let me tell you about the law of sowing and reaping, because this is fundamental to everything. Whatever you sow, you're going to reap. If you sow laziness, you'll reap poverty. If you sow discipline, you'll reap success. This law is as reliable as gravity. You can't trick it, you can't cheat it, you can't negotiate with it. But here's what most people don't understand about this law. There's a time gap between sowing and reaping. When a farmer plants seeds in the spring, he doesn't get his harvest the next day or even the next week. He has to wait, he has to tend the crop, he has to trust the process. And that's where most people fail in life. They do something good for a few days or a few weeks, and when they don't see immediate results, they quit. They give up right before the harvest. I wasted so many years being impatient, expecting overnight success, looking for shortcuts and quick fixes. But there are no shortcuts to anywhere worth going. Success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. Read a little bit every day, save a little money every day. Be kind to people every day. Work on your craft every day. These simple disciplines practiced every day will transform your life. but you have to give them time to work. Think about your health for a minute. If you eat one bad meal, does it ruin your health? No. But if you eat bad meals every day for 10 years, where does that leave you? On the other hand, if you eat healthy most of the time for years, if you exercise regularly for years, where does that leave you? The same principle applies to everything in life. It's the small disciplines practiced every day that create big results over time. Now, let me talk to you about goals, because this is where I see most people go completely wrong. They either have no goals at all, which means they're just drifting through life, letting circumstances push them around, or they have vague wishes they call goals, but aren't really goals at all. I want to be successful. That's not a goal. I want to make more money. That's not a goal. A real goal is specific. It's written down. It has a deadline. It has a plan. And most importantly, it has reasons behind it that are strong enough to get you through the tough times when you don't feel like doing what needs to be done. You've got to have reasons. Reasons come first, answers come second. When your reasons are strong enough, you'll figure out the answers. When your why is big enough, the how will take care of itself. I spent decades setting goals that didn't mean anything to me personally. They were goals I thought I should have, goals that looked good on paper, goals that other people had, so I figured I should have them too, but they didn't inspire me. They didn't pull me out of bed in the morning, and that's why I never achieved them. It wasn't until I got honest with myself about what I really wanted and why I really wanted it that everything changed. I stopped trying to impress other people and started trying to impress myself. I stopped chasing things that didn't matter and started pursuing things that would make me proud, that would make my family proud, that would let me help other people in meaningful ways. Here's a question that'll change your life if you answer it honestly. What do you really want? Not what do your parents want for you. Not what does society say you should want. What do you really want? And more importantly, why do you want it? What will having it mean to you? What kind of person will you have to become to achieve it? That last question is the most important one, because success isn't just about what you get. Success is about what you become in the process of achieving your goals. The real value isn't the $1 million. The real value is what you had to learn, how you had to grow, who you had to become to earn that $1 million. Because once you become that person, nobody can take that away from you. Let me tell you about attitude, because this is worth more than all the skills and education in the world. Your attitude determines your altitude. It determines how high you'll rise, how far you'll go, how much you'll accomplish, and your attitude is a choice. Not all the time, not about everything, but more often than most people realize. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond to what happens to you. Life isn't fair. Bad things happen to good people. You'll face setbacks and disappointments and failures. That's not the question. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to let it defeat you, or are you going to let it develop you? Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. I didn't believe that for most of my life. I thought it was just positive thinking nonsense. But now I can look back at the worst things that ever happened to me and see how they pushed me in a direction I never would have gone otherwise, taught me lessons I never would have learned, made me into someone I never would have become without those difficulties. You've got to work on your philosophy. That's what shapes your attitude. Your philosophy is how you think about life, about challenges, about success, about failure, about other people, about yourself. And if your philosophy is wrong, nothing else matters. If you think life owes you something, you're going to be disappointed. If you think success should be easy, you're going to quit when it gets hard. If you think other people are to blame for your problems, you'll never solve them. Your philosophy creates your attitude. Your attitude creates your actions. Your actions create your results. Your results create your life. So if you don't like your life, you've got to go all the way back to the beginning and work on your philosophy. For 43 years, I had a victim philosophy. Things happened to me. Life was unfair to me. Other people had advantages I didn't have. And as long as I thought that way, nothing changed. Because if everything was somebody else's fault, then everything was somebody else's responsibility to fix. And they weren't going to fix it. The day I accepted full responsibility for where I was and where I was going was the day my life began to change. I stopped blaming and I started learning. I stopped complaining and I started creating. I stopped being a victim and I started being a victor. And you know what? My circumstances didn't change overnight, but I changed. And once I changed, I started making different choices. And once I started making different choices, I started getting different results. Personal responsibility is the price of greatness. You've got to take ownership of everything in your life, the good, the bad, the successes, the failures, all of it. Not because everything is your fault, but because you're the only one who can change it. Waiting for someone else to rescue you is a waste of time that could be spent rescuing yourself. Now let me talk to you about the power of small things, because this is where most people miss it completely. They're looking for the big break, the lucky opportunity, the revolutionary idea that'll change everything overnight. But success doesn't work that way. Success is built in the small things done consistently over time. The smallest of disciplines practiced every day start an incredible process that can change your life beyond your wildest dreams. But you've got to start. You've got to do something today that your future self will thank you for. Just one thing, one page read, $1 saved, one healthy choice, one small discipline that moves you in the right direction. The problem is, these small disciplines are easy to do, but they're also easy not to do. It's easy to read for 30 minutes, but it's also easy to skip it and watch television instead. And because these things are easy not to do, most people don't do them. And that's why most people don't have what they want. But here's the thing about those small disciplines. If you do them, in the short term, it doesn't seem to matter. But if you don't do them, in the short term, it doesn't seem to matter either. That's the trap. You can skip your reading today and nothing bad happens. You can skip your workout this week and you still look the same, so you think it doesn't matter. But then you do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next year, and 5 years go by, and you wonder why you're not where you want to be. The answer is simple. The small things you didn't do added up to the big things you don't have. The same principle works in reverse. The small things you do add up to the big things you will have. Read those 30 minutes every day, and in 5 years, you'll be unrecognizable. Save 10% of everything you earn, and in 20 years, you'll be financially independent. It all adds up. Every day counts. Every choice matters. Let me ask you this. What if you could go back in time and give advice to yourself from 10 years ago? What would you say? Well, you can't go back and change the past, but you can create a different future starting right now. You can become the person 10 years from now who looks back at today and says, that's when everything changed. That's when I finally got serious about my life. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. You can't change what you didn't do yesterday, but you can absolutely change what you do today. And what you do today will determine where you are tomorrow, next month, next year, 10 years from now. Time is going to pass regardless of what you do with it. 5 years from now, you're going to be 5 years older, whether you use that time wisely or waste it. The question is, who will you be in 5 years? Where will you be? What will you have accomplished? That depends entirely on what you do starting today. You know what I wish someone had told me when I was young? I wish they'd told me that life is short. It goes by so fast. You blink and a decade is gone. And if you haven't been intentional about how you spend your time, if you haven't been purposeful about what you're building, you wake up one day and realize you've wasted years you can never get back. Don't wait until you're 43 like I did. Don't wait until you've wasted half your life to figure out what really matters. Start now. Start today. Start this very moment with one small decision to do something different, something better, something that moves you toward the life you actually want instead of the life you're settling for. The life you want is available. The success you dream about is achievable. The person you want to become is within your reach. But it's not going to happen by accident. It's going to happen because you decide to make it happen. Because you commit to doing whatever it takes. Because you refuse to settle for less than you're capable of becoming. Everything you need is already inside you. The strength, the courage, the discipline, the wisdom, it's all there. You just have to develop it. And you do that through the small daily disciplines we've been talking about. Through reading and learning. Through setting meaningful goals and working toward them. Through surrounding yourself with people who inspire you to be better. Through taking full responsibility for your life. Through developing the right philosophy and the right attitude. This is your life. Nobody's going to live it for you. Nobody's going to build your dreams for you. That's your job. That's your responsibility. That's your opportunity. And it starts with a decision that what you've been doing isn't good enough anymore. A decision that you're worth more than you've been settling for. A decision that starting today, starting right now, things are going to be different.